Well, so I got a conspiracy theory here, Dave. Now, yeah, you guys are slick. I know you guys think you're slick. You know, you're not posted on the socials that often. But I go back to a post. I can't remember the exact date from when it was, but a certain record label typed a 100 emoji in one of the comments. That was Sharp Tone Records.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was actually, we all were kind of like, oh fuck.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the TrueShot Guest Spot Podcast. This is episode, 22 now? That's crazy. Listen, man, my goal for this year was to have an episode every week of 2021. We're off to a great start. Today's guest is Dave Rucki from the band Sentinels. He is the drummer. Dave's an awesome guy. I mean, he and I just really shot the breeze in this one. We talked about some songwriting, because if you guys are familiar with Sentinels at all, their music is out there. I mean, it's very progressive. It's very, as a vocalist and a guy who writes lyrics, I listen to it and I'm like, how the hell do they put lyrics and vocals to this? But Dave's an awesome guy. We talked about them with Modern Empire. We talked about them, kind of being, I guess on the free agent circuit here a little bit. Yeah, man, we just talked about songwriting. We talked about so many cool things. Towards the end of it, we talked about comedy. And he and I actually, after, talked off air for over an hour. Super cool guy. He had COVID as well. We discussed how he got through that and whatnot. It was just a really cool conversation. Listen, I'll shut up. Here we go. Dave Rucki, Sentinels. Dave Rucki, thank you for coming on the podcast as my cap. I told you this was coming, man. I told you. How's it going, bro?
It's going good, man. I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me. And yeah, just like you said, he waited for the record, and
as soon as he heard me say go, he's just like, all right, here's my time to shine. Take over the show. This is my show, okay? You stay over there in your litter box, do your thing. This is my show.
yeah,
But
whatever.
yeah. So you're just coming off of work, man. How was work today? Let me first ask you that.
Work was all right. Can't complain. I mean, I'm working from home again. I had recently just returned to the office because I couldn't stand being cooped up at home.
Yeah.
It's like I was working down here, like in my drum room for like the longest time, and then I started a podcast down here. I had a big desk for my work computer and my personal stuff. So it was basically like when I was done with an 8 to 10 hour day, I would just basically turn around and be like, well, time to start the rest of my day. And I just was not leaving this room. So it was making me stir crazy, and it actually started really kind of screwing with my mental health a little bit. And I was like, I need to get out of here. And when I knew that there were still people at work that I got along with, I was like, okay, let me go back there for a while. And then I got hit with the Rona, and then had to go home. And knowing that I could work from home, I wasn't going to just miss out on 2 weeks. So I just decided to step back home for a while.
Yeah, and it helps that you're in a room there. It sounds like you could scream in there. Nobody could hear you. I mean, with all that soundproofing.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So for real quick, just in case people are tuning in who may not know who you are, just give a quick introduction for who you are. But chances are they might know you, but on the off chance, just go ahead, introduce yourself, man.
I'll put my money on the fact that not many people do. So what's up, guys? I'm Dave Rucki. I play drums and do vocals in a band called Sentinels. We're a progressive metalcore band from New Jersey. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Oh, I also host a podcast called the Six Stroke Podcast, and that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, because on your podcast, it seems like you interview other drummers. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Right now, that's kind of like the starting point. Being that like the bass line is drumming, but I do hope to obviously get other musicians on there, and other touring buddies and stuff like that, because there's some bands that we've toured with that I've gotten closer with the guitarist or the vocalist and stuff like that, and I feel like if I just make it a world of drummers, then I kind of shut everyone else out, and it kind of gives people less incentive to check it out if it's only drummers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But it makes sense. Like you said, it's a good starting point because that's what you play. So it's an easy kind of conversation, and you guys can geek out for 3 hours about rides and crashes and stuff like that.
Great.
As you can tell, I'm not a drummer, so I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
at least you know your symbol types. That's
yeah,
something more than most people say.
Yeah, from us programming them, I've kind of learned them. But look, man, the reason why I wanted to talk to you was, number one, I just want to say, and when I told the guys in my band that I was interviewing you, they were like, that's the drummer from Sentinels, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, dude, that guy's so good. So number one, I wanted to talk to a talented guy. But number two, for those of you that may not know, my band TrueShot, our very first show was at the Bungalow in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we opened up for what was at the time Stay Sick, the Stay Sick tour, which was Notions, You Guys, and Mother Sound. That was our very first show ever. My very first show, because this is my first band ever. So I remembered, kind of doing my due diligence to go through all the bands that we were playing with, check out the music. And you guys are what I like to call a thinking man's genre, because it is. I mean this in the nicest way possible. It is some effed up stuff. There's a ton of stuff going on.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we definitely look back on some of our material that no matter how much we like to think like, all right, this is a little bit more approachable and a little bit more tolerable, we still do get that, because even though we like to think we tone it down, we definitely don't stray too far from like our roots and what we like to write and what to hear, or what we want people to hear. So we've definitely heard that a couple times, so I take no offense to it. I take it as a compliment. I appreciate that.
No, and I give credit to whoever writes the lyrics and all that, because trying to put vocals over that stuff must be a hell of a exercise.
Yeah, we definitely have our work cut out for us when it comes to applying lyrics, because not many parts repeat. So then
right,
it's like, well, I want to repeat stuff, but I don't know where to do it because it doesn't make sense to. So
yeah. So that's funny. So looking back at that show, though, man, like, I know that Notions is still, I see them kicking around a little bit. I don't think that they're part of now Modern Empire anymore. I don't know where Mother Sound is these days, but what about you guys? Are you still part of Modern Empire, or are you guys free agents right now?
We so pretty much when we wrapped up like our record cycle, or the touring cycle for the record, we were kind of, free agents, like kind of, set out to do whatever we wanted to do. And I think in a sense, like, for the time period, Modern Empire, formerly Stay Sick, was a good move for us, because it was us getting our feet wet, like with management and a label and touring, and they believed in us. And even though we were kind of a weird band for the label, that they still loved what we were doing, and they believed in us, and they pushed for us big time. And at the time it seemed appropriate, but like, looking more so in the direction that the label's going, I'm like, okay, I guess it makes sense that it wasn't the right choice to like continue and do another record. But we're grateful as hell for those guys. Like, they were super cool to us. But yeah, we've kind of moved on, free agents, and can't say too much more about that background. But yeah, things are changing. Kind of jump ship a little bit.
Well, so I got a conspiracy theory here, Dave. Now, yeah, you guys are slick. I know you guys think you're slick. You're not posted on the socials that often, but I go back to a post. I can't remember the exact date from when it was, but a certain record label typed a 100 emoji in one of the comments. That was Sharp Tone Records.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was actually, we all were kind of like, oh fuck. Which
really? Okay. So the conspiracy is dead. Okay.
When they launched, man, like, my guitar player and I, Chris, like, we were sitting there because our good friends in Currents, they
Mm.
They were like the first band to be announced on like the second wave, or like the new wave, because
Right.
when Sharptone, I remember, first announced, they had announced all these like prior signed bands, like bands that we know, like Amur, Miss May I,
Mm-hmm.
Romans, and then Currents was like, they were announced as like the second wave, like the new breed of metalcore and stuff
Right.
like that. So like, and seeing the bands that kind of went through, and like even though we're different from that, we still felt like, you know, if we had a home, like that's the goal, and that's what's to reach for, you know.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go back to Modern Empire, formerly Stay Sick, because I mean, that you kind of alluded to it a little bit. Like, they kind of have like that sound that they've kind of encompassed that label around. And I know that they're no longer a band anymore, but I think Dealer was like that sound of what that label has kind of come to be. You know, that down-tuned, heavy like style of metalcore. So how did that come about with you guys who are like you? I don't even know if you have 1-0 in your songs. So it's very interesting how that came about.
Definitely some zeros. I will. We are not above the zeros. We are suckers for zeros, and
I think everybody is secretly.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of a weird story. To be fair to the other label, I won't say any names.
Yeah.
But what happened was, we were actually signed to another label, and unfortunately, we were kind of unaware of some circumstances with said label, and you know, like Milford from Stay Sick, Modern Empire, he is like, you know, best friends, like close friends with one of our managers, Scott Lee. And when Scott Lee, you know, was hanging out at Warp Tour on the Chelsea Grin bus with Mike Milford, because Milford also manages Chelsea Grin, and he showed them our record. He told them, he was like, "You sign them to these guys or whatever," and he was like, "Don't you know that, you know, they're kind of like going under in a sense?" And he was like, "I knew that they were in trouble, and that's why I'm helping them like sign like these newer bands." And he's like, "Yeah, there's some stuff I guess you don't know." And so Milford was gracious enough to basically buy us out of our contract with that label.
Oh wow.
Like, right, like he heard it, and we'd heard about the offer, and within a week we were bought out by Stay Sick, and now Modern Empire. So it was like one of those situations where like he heard the record and he loved it so much that he was willing to put up his own money to buy us out of the contract, and then also allow us the opportunity to kind of, you know, walk free from it afterwards if we felt like, you know, we didn't want to continue, or if they didn't want to continue. It was like a clean break, and that was like kind of like such a refreshing thing, because like here we were thinking that everything was okay, and we were like, damn, this is awesome. You know, we're working with Scott Lee, who's such a notorious name in like the metalcore world and just metal in general. And, you know, we were like set. So like, even when him hearing that, it was kind of a shock to all of us and all of our teams. So at the time, you know, Modern Empire stuck their necks out for us, and, you know, we felt like it was a good move.
Yeah. So when you guys, you know, when you left Modern Empire, was it kind of just like a kind of only for that? What would you call it? It's kind of like a record, but it's not a full length. It's kind of like an EP, a longer EP, kind of, right?
Yeah, because what happened was, when we were sitting there talking about the record, you know, obviously with the older label, we had mentioned, you know, we have 7 strong songs right now, we had 6 strong songs written, and then we had a former single, Neurosis, and they loved the single so much, they were like, put that on the record, re-record it, and do like a new version of it, you know, make it 7 songs, and you can do like an extended EP. We're like, okay. And then at the end of the day, like after going through with our producer and stuff like that, like and having the finalized version of these songs, we had 7 songs, but it equaled out to 32 minutes. And so we had discussed them. We were like, hey, even though it's 7 songs, it's 32 minutes. Can we, you know, basically consider this a full length? And they said, yeah. But then as soon as the record came out on social media, it was like, check out Sentinels, Unsound Recollection, the craziest EP of the year. And we were like, oh, fuck. Because at that point, when it's just an EP, you know, you kind of, get a cutoff for like how many tours you get and just how many bigger like offers you get. Like the EP can take you only so far as opposed to a full length record.
Explain that a little bit more, because that's interesting to me.
I think it's mainly like, I don't know like the full logistics for it, but it seems like pretty simple in the sense where it's like you have an EP, which is like a shorter collection of songs.
Right.
And it seems like something just to kind of hold you over until the bigger thing.
Right.
So if you have a full length, that can ride you for about like 2-3 years of touring.
Gotcha. Okay.
It kind of gets, shortened because they're like, all right, we need more music. People are getting hungry for newer stuff quicker. So if you give them a full length with a little bit more material, then people are willing to, hold over for a little bit longer until the next thing.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that Sharp Tone is kind of like your dream label. And I know that you guys said that you're currently, kind of free agents. Why? Because, this day and age, with like just the way everything kind of is, and you can do it on your own. So do you guys still desire a label, or are you just like, we'll just do our own thing till the right opportunity comes along?
Well, I think it's more so, I guess not to say like desire, but like it is something where it is that extra needed help, where we are not a big band by any means. We haven't done as much touring as we'd like to. We've done like a fair amount of shows in our time, like as a signed band or a recognized band or whatever. But the label, like overall, like they help fund like the record for like, most importantly, they fund your record, they market it, and do all press and all that stuff. So like that's all extra stuff that like we can't always afford to do, like to dish out like the money for like a full length record, and especially one of quality, is a lot of money. And so to have a label that believes in you and backs you financially and all this stuff, it's a huge help for like, for people like us and a band like us at our size. So that's kind of like the goal why. So it's like, we can make a record, shop it out, and they essentially pay for it in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It's like, that's what, they say a label is essentially is, it's just a kind of a bank. They have the resources able to do it. And I saw that you guys posted that you're done. You're done. Like the record is completely done at this point, correct?
Yeah. The record has been done pretty much since, I think, like finalized, like masters, I think we got like in August. So it's been a bit of a minute. So there's a few more things that just need to be locked down before something gets released.
Okay. So then part of that process is shopping it to a label, I assume.
Yeah.
No, because what's that? Sorry.
I was just saying, like, that is like, it's quite a process in itself, like kind of locking something down. So
yeah. So has there been any internal discussions though of like, hey man, we can't hold on to this forever. If something doesn't happen, are we just gonna just go for it?
Yeah, I mean, I can say like, things are like right on the horizon.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be much longer before people start hearing things, which I'm excited about. I can't give any dates or anything, unfortunately. But we have music videos shot. We're still trying to shoot a couple more. We have artwork pretty much done. And we're getting ready to do like the full album layout and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's all like worked on. Like we've got it, basically all signed, sealed, delivered. Just needs to actually be delivered now to the people.
Right.
So it's not much longer until things come to fruition,
Right. See, the Sentinels fans out there, they'd be like, Richard, you got to press him on this. You got to try to get the information out of him. So, I had to try to push you a little bit there. But no, it's crazy, man. The amount I think people really take for granted how much this stuff costs, because for a band like us, and I don't know if you guys are kind of in the same situation. I mean, thankfully we have the YouTube channel where we've been able to make a Patreon, and people support us over there, and we do Twitch, and a lot of it is now started to have some money come in and be sort of self-funded. But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know for us, it's like, it wasn't uncommon, 6-8 months ago to be like, all right, guys, we need $300 on this Friday, $200 next Thursday, and then $150 at the end of the month. It's like, it just never stops.
There's always something to pay for, man. It's crazy, and it's just unfortunately because of the lack of touring, for us and everything. It's unfortunately been now just over a year since we have played our last show. It was before Corona even hit. Like we had finished up a run of shows around the holidays, went home like for the holidays and to finish writing our record, and we were going to go right into the studio and get started, and then literally halfway through the tracking portion of our record is when Corona hit and everything got shut down. So having that, like, no touring, like, meant like no money coming in from touring for us to release merch online. So unfortunately we haven't put out merch in so long at this point, and it sucks because we've been wanting people to have stuff, but it's like, then we'd be having to dish things out of our own pocket, and like that gets tough to do. And
Yeah.
then, also having a van to pay for still during all this, just sitting dormant, like it's rough. But we try, and the more I hear it, the Patreon seems like something to consider. We just want to make sure that we kind of do it right. We have something to offer. You guys with your channel, you guys are kicking ass. Like I remember just like discovering your channel like a couple months ago, and I'm like, damn, they got the Patreon, they're doing the Twitch thing. These guys are doing it right, man. They're making the most out of this time off.
Well, it's cool. Because I look at, because I've known who you are for a long time, especially, since we, that was 2018, November 2018. We have the flyer in my guitar player Adam, his studio. We have it hung up. It's just like, it's framed. It's like, that's our first show right there. So
I actually saw it in the background of your award show, because I watched that. I was like, oh shit, there it is. They did. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I just man, I just still, I go back, and you could probably talk about some of your first show experiences too, but back then, no backing tracks, one guitarist. I mean, it was just the most shallow, hollow sound ever, like going back to look at those videos. But I think our bass player had like an old like Jay Tercer bass. It was just like, just a makeshift patchwork show, but it's cool. What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, it's the start. We all have a start, and we all start one way or another. And that's how we get better. Is we're like, oh man, we look back on that and we're thinking, what the fuck are we doing? But at the same time, everyone has those points. Like I remember even a couple times, like on that very tour, there was just some nights where, like, for some reason our backtrack rig was not working, and we basically played a raw set, and it was so awkward for the.
Yeah, what does it sound like with your music?
It is a bunch of standing around waiting for me to click the sticks, because we normally have like about 15 to 20 seconds of like sound before each song starts, and so it's like and some pretty empty rooms on that tour, so it was awkward. So
well, they're fortunate to have a drummer like you in that case, because I know that you're going to be humble and say, "Oh, well thank you," But I think, but from what I've watched of you, you kind of are a built-in click track. So it really it would help a band like you. The drummers we've had, all just rigmarole. I mean, just. I'll save that for another conversation. But no, man, it's just cool that guys like you and just some other people that we've met through the channel, and it's really cool that guys like you and fellow musicians kind of like it, because at first I had some people, they reached out and they were like, oh well, like, what if you don't like the song? Aren't you worried about people getting mad at you guys, and what if about like touring stuff and all that? And I said, listen man, if a band gets that mad and we don't like a song, they're children. So it's like, I say that all the time. I'm like, we're just people on the internet. I don't think they'll be that bothered by it. But it's really cool that you knew who we were, because I friended you on Facebook with the intention of trying to get you on the podcast, and I just think that you're a talented guy. So it was really cool that you knew who I was.
Yeah, dude. Straight up, like like whenever I type in like a new song, or I see somebody like posting a new song by somebody, say, like ones you've reacted to, like Darko, Spirit Box.
Yeah.
Two of the biggest ones that I've been listening to a lot now, and new stuff coming out. You look at the video, and like in my like recommended or whatever, like 3 videos down, there's you and Adam like review it and reacting to the shit, and I'm like, so yeah, you're everywhere, man. like, and it's cool to see like how quickly it's spread. And like for the most part, like for a while I had sort of like a thing about like reaction videos where I felt like sometimes people really over embellish their
they
reaction
do.
to it just because they have a camera on them. And I'm like, but you guys are honest. Like I see you enjoying it, and like we have the same sort of reaction to songs where like you're just like, or
Yeah.
like, or just like, oh, like it's I think it's because like you guys are also in a band, so it's like band guys reacting to it. It's a much more honest representation of a reaction, where someone could just be the whole time they could be like getting up, like doing some dumb dance move, or like just really making themselves like a cartoon character. Like that shit makes me cringe so hard. But at the same time, if someone was to do that to my band, like I have nothing but love for them, because I'm like, hey, you're taking the time out of your day to do it.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry if that makes me sound like an asshole to people. Like
no,
that.
no, there's definitely different styles of reactors, but there's definitely a segment of people. It's like if you like every song, that's just not realistic. I mean, that's just not possible. I mean, it's just like for us recently, a song that we've been checking out, or just a band we've been checking out, is Black Tongue, and I can't do it, man. With that band, I just can't do it.
Yeah, I've listened to a few things here and there, but it's only ever been because I've forced myself to, because I have just heard people talking about it, and I felt the need. I'm like, okay, I should finally listen to this band. But every time I go into it, I'm like, I'm not in the mood. I know what they sound like,
Right.
but I'm not in the mood to do it. So I need to be in the right frame like of mind for it. Like today, I just wanted to hear blast beats and like dark tones, and like, so I went back and I listened to like Mark and Misha from Periphery's side project, Haunted Shores.
Oh
And
yeah.
like
Yep.
the last EP they put out, they're like the first actual song is just like 280 set like BPM, like Euro blast, and just like the darkest like sounding shit. Like, and I was like, that's what I want to listen to today. And I just only listen to stuff like that, Lorna Shore. And like
Mhm.
I have to be in a certain mood for stuff. So if I force myself to listen to a certain band, it's just not gonna be enjoyable. I have to naturally want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I need to listen to stuff that's more upbeat. That's just got something like with a rhythm to it. And
Yeah.
sometimes that stuff is just so slow that I'm like I can feel the blood coursing through my vein. It's like I'm just like so still because nothing's happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, man. I just thought it was really, really cool. But so it's going off of kind of reactions, just listening to music. I mean, are you one of these guys that, and I get that, I know that I'm an outlier. I'm a metalcore guy. That's just what I love to listen to. But I know there's a lot of guys in metalcore bands who are just like, I don't even really like listen to heavy stuff like outside of my band. Like, are you one of those guys, or you sounds like you're kind of like like you mentioned Lorna Shore and stuff.
Oh yeah. I do like stuff outside of metal, but
Yeah.
my baseline is metal. And I know that's probably annoying to some people I hang out with, where I'm like, they'll get in my car, we'll go somewhere, and it's metalcore or some version of deathcore or something.
I'm
It
in.
just depends on my mood that day. But yeah, metal was like what, shaped me, and like how I wanted to be and who I wanted to be for like the rest of my life. And so it feels weird not listening to it like a lot of the time, where like it's my automatic go-to like every day. Even if I don't know what to start with, I'm like, all right, let's at least start here, shuffle. But yeah, I fuck with a lot of like some certain pop music,
Mhm.
uh like like rap. Like I'm really picky with rap for the most part, but yeah, like metal to me is like my go-to, and it's always gonna be. I really don't picture it changing, but that's me saying that right now. Who knows? In 5 years, I could be like, "Oh, I need a break from that." But it's always been my go-to ever since I discovered it, man. There's just something about it that just makes me feel alive.
Yeah, to me, there's just no other music like it. Like nothing gives me that. because I like to make fun of this word all the time, but the word vibe, I'm not like that. I just don't vibe. I make fun of our bass player. I'm like, you know what? I know that you might like the new 100th record, but that's because you eat a fistful of mushrooms and stare at the ceiling for 6 hours. I'm not like that. I can't do that. I have to be like, I'm wearing an Alpha. For those of you that are listening on audio, I'm wearing an Alpha Wolf shirt. Dave over here is wearing a Vane shirt. So these aren't, you're very, poppy bands, that they're heavy. And that's just the way that I like to listen to music. And I don't know. I do think it's kind of, I don't know if weird's the word. I don't know what the word is, but when people are like I said before, like they're like, yeah, like I'm in a metal band, but like I don't even like listen to this stuff. I'm just
I
like,
feel like it's a front, big
yeah.
time.
And it's a weird front to me because it's like nobody's gonna be like, dude, you're in a metal band, listen to metal. What kind of an idiot are you? I just
Like, what do you have to gain from it? Like the fact that you don't listen to that music all the time, but there was once a point where you made music like that or something. Like, I don't know. It drives me crazy. Like here, because I know that to some people, I guess, like mainly with metal bands who have been touring extensively for a long, long time, they do get like
probably
more,
burnt out. Yeah.
and they have to take a break from it. But they're like, if I do listen to it, it's like these 4 or 5 select bands. And I can relate to that sometimes where like I'll come off a tour and like the weird thing is I'm almost the opposite where I will come home from a tour and because I miss hearing the songs that I've heard for like the past 3 weeks to a month, I'll listen to those for a little bit and be like, oh, damn, miss that shit. And then I'm like, okay, now back to regular life. What else am I listening to? So like we're all different in that sense. And I understand where people who say, I don't listen to it that often are coming from. But at the same time, I'm like, don't act like you're just trying to get some points right now.
Right.
Because what, metal's not cool to listen to? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I know it's definitely a lot different for if you have a band that's been touring, nonstop for 10 years. I get that, but when you have like a, just like the super cool, new band that's like that, I'm just like, okay. But yeah. But how long has Sentinels been around for anyway?
I was actually just FaceTiming with my guitar player because I have to like get some like thing ready for us, and I was like, how long? Like because I'm technically the 3rd drummer of Sentinels.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I was like, I had to kind of get my facts straight. And I was like, how long has it been? I was like, when did you guys start? 2012. So thinking about it now that it's 2021, it's like getting closer to the fact that we can say we've been a band for almost 10 years. And that's insane.
Crazy.
I joined in July of 2015 and they had started as a band like in 2012, but they didn't put their first thing out until I think like late 2013, I believe. And so like that's how I have to think about it. I'm like, damn, like they have been a band since 2012, and that's insane to me.
That is insane. And it's just like it's cool that it's a lot. I know a lot of bands like they don't hold on, or like you said, you're the 3rd drummer, so it's really cool that it's been charging along for almost 10 years now.
It's crazy to think, man. And like honestly, I thought as soon as I joined, the band was going to break up. I was like terrified for it because I was like, cool, I just jumped ship from another band because I thought this was the right move to make. And here we are. I think the band's going to break up. Luckily, it didn't happen. And we just had a bit of like a scare within the band. And we worked through it. And we've been going ever since. And I'm glad because in the moment when I did join the band, I was like, this is exactly where I want to be. Like, this is the kind of music I want to play, like stuff that kind of will turn heads a little bit or, excite the ear in a sense, because it was just something so fresh to me. And like, it was such a nice melting pot of like all the genres that I liked. And it was just something I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. And for those of you out there that, haven't listened to Sentinels, like I know you mentioned the song in particular, but I think Neuroses was or Neurosis, I don't know how you pronounce it. Neurosis. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember that was kind of the song that we all liked. And it's just, I'm warning you guys, if you never listen to Sentinels, be ready, because this is not normal sounding music. It's very chaotic, but it's so, I don't know. It's something really cool. It's so different from what I'm used to listening because I'm not usually like a progressive proggy kind of guy. But you guys keep it heavy, and your vocalist has a nice, just heavy tone as well, which I think really helps with that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like because the thing is, like, when we try to like tell people like what we are, it gets so hard to describe. I just say progressive because in the way that I was brought into progressive music when I was younger with like progressive rock, like Rush, and Dream Theater and bands like them. Like I'm like, what makes it like progressive? And it's just like that you're pushing the envelope or that things are ever changing. And I was like, okay, interesting. So like, because when I say that we're a progressive metal band and people go like Dream Theater, I'm like, no, like it's just progressive because things are constantly moving or things are changing. Like
Right.
in the past, we didn't repeat things too much. We're trying to change that a bit now. And I think it's for the better because I want our music to be a little bit more approachable, but like still be us and still like fit the mold, like to be able to play with bands like say Alpha Wolf or like, like heavier bands like that. Like, dude, if we got an offer to tour with Crystal Lake and we still sounded the way we do, I'd be like, yeah, you kidding me? That's exactly where I want to be. Like, I want to be that kind of weird band that people can fuck with on like a metalcore package. And like, I've heard people say that they like a few friends have been like, I can see that working. And so I'm like, that's what we should push for, like trying to fit in that market, but like still doing it in our own way. So yeah, it's definitely like I hear chaotic a lot, and there's definitely truth to that. So we try to find the nice balance.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it because I think, sometimes especially with kind of the genre that we play in, a lot of it tends to be the normal kind of tropes or stereotypes and whatnot. So I think it's nice when you have something that's still it, but a different kind of it. Because a lot of bands, recently, especially from us doing just the reaction channel and stuff like that, I've noticed is that a lot of bands it's weird. It's almost like there's like a fork in the road, and the bands are here, and they're deciding, do we want to go less heavy with more cleans, or do we just want to become obnoxious? Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like just heavy. And so it's really interesting, the blend of stuff you have. But it sounds like when you say that you're trying to make it a little bit more approachable, do you kind of mean that in terms of, like you said, like maybe having like a repeating part, like a chorus, or like what do you mean by that?
I mean like having like more of a structure where like parts will come back again, like parts that we think like that's catchy.
Right.
Why is it there only once? That has like a hook to it. Like, why not make that the strong hook, the part that people can remember the words and like say shout them back to us live or something, or something that we would deem as a single. Because in the past it was so hard for us at least to pick singles, but the thing that like always related about our singles was that there was a strong repeating part, and whether it was catchy instrumentally or catchy because of the vocals, we deemed that the single. I know that singles kind of change all over the place nowadays, and the definition has kind of redefined in a sense, but like overall, like the singles that we picked in the past, it's always been like, what's the catchiest song, or at least in our opinion, what is the catchiest. And so yeah, we've definitely taken a new route, and we have songs where, and multiple songs where there are repeating parts, and then there's a couple parts or a couple songs where it doesn't seem like something's repeating, but like it is, but it's just done slightly different. So it's just that thing where it's like we want to have a better structure, and there still are songs that absolutely nothing repeats, but that's the intent behind it, is being a little bit more chaotic, or this song is here to make you feel a little sad, or this song is here to put a boot in your neighbor's ass. It's like every song has its own intent, and the structure kind of it basically just like, you know, Chris will send me a song and I'm like, dude, this part is sick. This would make a great hook, and we'll find a way to make it come back again, but without sounding forced.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, kind of, what is you guys' like songwriting dynamic? Like, are you hands on? Or are you just kind of like, does does the guitar player write it and like have like filler drums, and then you kind of tinker with it, or what's kind of your dynamic?
Yeah, so this was the first time that I'd ever really become super hands-on with my drum parts, and even some points pitching an idea of ideas of like the structure, and like please tell me that part's coming back. Like I just hear so much potential in it. And this was all like before we went to a producer, and you know, he kind of put his hands into the mix. But
Right.
it was it's always kind of been like, you know, my guitar players will you know, send like files, and like I'll just like, you know, adjust like the MIDI drums to make them how I want to. But Chris has really taken a big front step like as a composer over the past, like this record and the previous one, Unsound Recollections. And so he'll send me like stuff with fills, or like a kind of fill that he has in mind for there, and that was extremely stressful at first, because like he'll have the idea there, but sometimes it doesn't come out right, like you know, a lot of guitar players will do.
Right.
But like I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but this is like, it's not on the grid right, or it just doesn't make sense. So I'll like send him like my idea in place, or I'm like, here's like the humanized version of it, and it does feel good to play. Do you like this? And he's like, yeah, dude, I fuck with that. And we'll just kind of keep sending things back and forth to each other. Like I'll just like send him like a quick video or like a sound bite of like what I'm doing before like going ahead and saving down MIDI and sending him a whole new thing. And it's a lot of just back and forth between me and Chris for the most part. You know, and then, you know, lyrics and vocals were a whole other thing after that. But yeah, like musically, that's kind of how it is. Chris will just like write things like and record straight into Logic now. It used to be like Tux Guitar, like Guitar Pro, all that stuff beforehand.
Right.
Now he's just like recording straight into a session.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense to you know, not typically I'll rely on the guitar player to write the drums, because we we currently, our kind of dynamic is Adam kind of, you know, he writes the stuff, but then we don't have a drummer technically in the band. We don't have a full-time active one right now. We have a guy who's very reliable, and we're just like, just do your thing with it, because like we have the filler drums here, but you know, we're not drummers, and like you said, like some stuff, you know, might not be on the grid, or it's just a drummer's touch, I think, is infinitely more valuable than just placeholder filler MIDI drums.
Of course. Even I would like even like go as far as like, even if you're a guitar player and you have just a solo project that you're just putting online for like out for just online purposes only, you know,
Right.
just without music. If you have a drummer friend, have him at least come in, and if he knows MIDI and stuff like that, take a
Right.
look at it, because having a real drummer's touch, like if you can't afford to like do live drums, or if it's not something you want to invest all this money in it, at least like have a drummer friend look at it and have that like human reference to be like, okay, this is like overlapping here. You would need three hands to do this. It's not quite possible. So like it always does help to have that drummer's touch, especially like if you have a drummer who knows what they're doing like with MIDI, and you know, can work with you and like understand your vision and like put the humanized version out there. It goes a long way.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a very good point. I think Amir actually has one song, "Flag of the Beast," where I think there's some sections where it's like you would need a three-handed drummer to pull it off. But hey, it's just, why not? Just make it sound cool. But no, it's, so do you guys do live drums though? Is by the sounds of it?
Yeah, the last record, Unsound, and the newest one have been live drums. And man, I'll tell you what, as stressful like as stressful as it was, like going in with a producer and like having things change on you last minute, and like having to relearn muscle memory and
Yeah.
track things live, to me it just feels so much more worth it and gratifying at the end of the day, to just be like, damn, like that's my playing, or like that's my part, and like I actually got to record it, and like it just feels so good. And like hearing like real live drum tones like come back to you, even if like at the end of the day your producer decides to like layer a little sample underneath or something, it just feels good to know that, you know, it's real drums like on a record, especially because so much stuff today like it is like programmed drums, like even no matter how real it sounds, it definitely can make a world of difference, and it almost has a different feeling. But you know, there are those people out there who are so damn good at programming drums that you can't tell.
Yeah, we let me ask you, since I know you do live drums, do we what we do, I just want to get the seal of approval from you here. So we don't program them and we don't do live drums. What we do is we have an E-kit and he tracks it on the E-kit. It's down the middle kind of.
Dude, I'm all about that. If the interviews were true and like there weren't any lies, you know, about it, or like any like sort of, you know, bending of the truth, I'm pretty sure that's how Periphery tracked the drums on their first record. It was on an
E-kit. Oh, really?
E-kit. Yeah, I believe so. I know Misha is widely known for being like one of the best drum programmers out there, but I've like in the old days like of Facebook, like when it first started and I was like really like becoming obsessed and like newly interested in Periphery, I was like looking through all this stuff, and it was like pictures posted to their Facebook around like 6 months prior to when the album came out, and I see Matt on an E-kit in like what looks like a studio. I'm like, okay, yeah, that seems to make sense. And then, you know, like I fully am about it. And you know, even my friend Matt Konowski, who used to play for Shadow of Intent, like for their album Reclaimer, he, I believe, did like most of like that kit, if not I think the whole thing, like on an E-kit, like one that he had. So it's like, as long as like the drums like sound human and like it's not like over the top and like impossible, and like it's passable as a human performance, then like I'm cool with it, man. I like, everyone has like their different methods of doing it, and I respect the shit out of the electronic kit, because in a sense, I'm not sure how it works. I haven't done it, but I can only imagine that even still, if the drummer misses a hit or whatever, you still got to do what a real drum tracking does. You got to slide it onto the grid. So kind of get a taste of what it's like.
Quantizing,
Yes, quantizing.
Yes. No, we ended up doing that because, I mean, I don't know if he'll listen to this, but our first drummer and a longtime friend of mine, he wanted to do live drums, and we're just like straight up, we're just like, bro, you're not good enough for live drums. It'll cost too much goddamn money. And like, so like, and I think that's another thing people overlook too. Live drums, unless you have a drummer like Mr. Dave here, are very expensive. It's very expensive.
It's expensive, and you know what? I'll say this because I'm not afraid to admit it, and because I know there are many other drummers out there who do this, and it makes things a lot easier on the producer and just in the process. I tracked only hands for this record and the last one. The feet are MIDI, and that is simply because of the fact that like when working like with all that stuff and like in a genre like ours, the more things you have to like scoot over and make everything perfect, it becomes a headache. So he's like, dude, like for your sound, like this, you know, metalcore, like a little bit polished like music or whatever, like it makes sense to do that. And it's okay. And I was like, okay, because when I had heard of this, you know, from our producer Randy LaBeouf, who's the guy who's done like Kubla Khan.
I was gonna ask you, I think he's with Will Putney, right?
Yeah, he's at Graphic Nature, and he, like, when we first like got signed on to like do our record with him, I was like, oh fuck, he's gonna hate us, man. Like we're not left behind. We're not Kubla Khan. I'm like, he's gonna think we're a bunch of gent dorks and be like, dude, what the fuck is this? I don't want to do this record. But he's literally like the man. He gets us. He will break us down like at certain parts where we're like, fuck, we need this part or whatever, and like he'll make us understand and hear things differently. And like there are like some songs that like changed, quite a bit, and like some like riffs were taken out and put in with some other things, and it was something we never thought of, because we thought when we went in there that our pre-pro this time was perfect, like
Yeah.
learning from the mistakes we made last time. But even still, then still had things change, and it was such a learning experience. And he helped make the record like what it is. Like seriously, like can't praise him enough for what he's done. And so like when he pitched the idea of doing MIDI kicks, like he didn't even ask. He was like, "We're doing MIDI kicks, just so you know." And I was like, "That's a thing?" And he's like, "You want to know who else does it?" He's like, these guys,
Everybody.
all your heroes who came through here." And I'm like, what the fuck? Like he only like a couple of drummers who he knows that are like, yeah, they do whole kit. And like that's because they don't have a million fucking kick drums here and there. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better about it. And then even drummers I toured with, they've told me that they've done that too. And I'm like, shit, okay. I have no reason to be like secretive about it. I don't care. It's more common than people know.
Yeah, and I think in my untrained ear, I think the thing that I noticed that just sounds different for MIDI versus live drums is the cymbals. I think those are the only things that I really can pinpoint where I'm like, okay, that sounds not live. But everything else kind of sounds very close to the same, especially like you said, you're somebody who's really good at programming them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, dude, because some people will take the time to put in all the velocities different and like for cymbals. And I learned all that from working with Randy last time on the last record, because when we would go through for pre-production, he would sit me down with him and basically tell me like, we're going to pre-pro out all of your parts. Like we're going to do all the dynamics and all the velocities and stuff, like, because I want to know that what you're playing, like when you're tracking, I want to be able to reference the MIDI and be like, no, you didn't do this. Like, so he like, you're like under a mic.
Yeah.
And at first I was terrified because I never tracked drums for a Sentinels song. And I just knew that the pressure was on. And so when it came into that, it really kicked my ass into shape. And like, you almost like when you go through the drum tracking and you get over the nerves and you finish, and like, you know, when they give you that, like that fist bump, they're like, dude, great job today. Like you walk out, like you're like, yeah, like it just, you get that like feeling of reassurance and like confidence. You're like, fuck, I did it. Like I was under the microscope, and like you kind of learn things and like you see things in a different way, and it makes you like work harder. Because even though, yeah, we like do the whole cutting the corner of MIDI kicks, it's because like things change. Like some patterns change in the studio where you're like, you do things slightly different, and like your muscle memory is so used to the old way of the way it was that if you go and play it the old way, it's just so much more to cut out or edit. So like it almost gave me time to like learn and focus and make sure that the hands were perfect, so that like in the downtime, which we all know we've had so much downtime this year, I can now perfect the kicks, you know, with the downtime. So, you know, there's a reason for everything behind that.
See, every time I talk to somebody on this, or just in general, when they tell me about their time in the studio, I get very jealous because we've never been in a studio, and I'm very jealous of that because it sounds like a lot of fun.
It's definitely fun. You have you definitely develop your inside jokes and have like those times, and you know, Randy has like the best dog on the planet, and like, so that's always nice when I'm spending like, you know, 12-hour days like in a studio or whatever, and there's a sweet pup there, and you know, it's a different type of God, I can't even fully, yeah, it's a different kind of experience. There's fun days and then there are draining days. Like it's definitely work, but like you can still have a good time, like on the smoke breaks or on like the dinner time breaks. Like there's definitely fun to be had, and like you definitely build a strong bond because there's somebody sitting with you throughout the entire process, like taking in your personality and your music and like your mannerisms like all day. So there's definitely hard times, but there's definitely a lot of fun times. And you know, I definitely look forward to hearing like, you know, your guys' like first studio experience and like seeing what it's like. You know, it's fun. Like the first time stepping in a studio it's surreal. Like there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's funny. We've never even like. I mean, we had at one time we almost did, and then we didn't. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I I like the way that we do it now. Like, we recorded in Adam's basement and then we send it off to be mixed and mastered. But I never want to get like complacent with an ideology, I guess. It's just like, I think it's important to try to mix things up a little bit, especially because, as I'm sure you're aware, like, when you guys do your pre-pro before you go into the studio, you think like, yup, this song's fucking sick. I've listened to it with these same two guys for 78 times. It's 78,000 times. The song's perfect. And then you have that would be nice. Because I want somebody to tell me something sucks. And I think a lot of people are kind of not into that. I don't think that they want to be told that. But I think it sounds like you guys are, especially for the type of music you have. I feel like you would kind of, I feel like with your style of music, I could be totally wrong here. You kind of have like this is really what we want. But then you have a guy who's maybe not in that realm of that music, who brings that other set of ears and set of guidance and wisdom to the table that even makes the sound maybe better.
Yeah. Just to start, I will say that anybody who is like hesitant about working with a producer, or like they are kind of unsure about it, just do it, because it really will make you see things in a different way. Like, I thought the pre-pro going into pre-production for the record, like with Randy, I thought it was perfect. I thought it was beautiful. I couldn't imagine the record another way. And then sure enough, for a lot of push and pull, like a lot did change. And at the end of it, now I can't picture listening to the record the way it was, even though, yeah, it's still pretty much like 70-80% of what it was, but there's still like those parts where like, there's no way he's going to want to change that. That's fucking sick. And we got like big heads about it. And then he brought us down to real life. And he was like, he even showed us, he's like on the grid. He's like, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, what doesn't make sense? I'm like, just because it's a little crazy, like, and definitely there were moments where it got like awkward, and there was tension, and things were a little heated, and I was like, oh fuck, like this is rough. But like, he made us understand why things didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, that's because Chris has the click like this, just like, but the way things are actually hitting, like where hits are placed, it's like he has like a hit like on like a downbeat, but like the way he's thinking of it as a downbeat, it's coming up on the upbeat, and it doesn't make. And I'm like, okay, I get that. So how can we make this work? And he's like, it's your tempo map that doesn't make sense. He's like, he may just be rocking along with it, but I don't know how the fuck he tracked this, like these guitars to this click. It's too straight when it's definitely not straight. It's going da 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 da. And I'm like thinking, I'm like, holy fuck. I was like, I never thought of it like this. I was always thinking of it in that weird time signature way, or like that weird sort of tempo or like offbeat thing. Like, so we were all kind of hearing things in different ways. And like Randy had to take like his like musical education background and like educate us dudes who are making music the way we do, and being like, this is what you're trying to do, but this is what you should be doing. And when we heard, we were like, oh yeah, that kind of makes a lot of sense there. And like, it really made us feel like, damn, like we're kind of dumb. Like, and we had to really take a look at how we were doing things. And like, we learned something new every time, like going in with a producer, and like, and he'll tell us sometimes like, yeah, this part kind of sucks. Like, we can make things better here. Like this riff, like, I can't even tell what's going on. It's just a little muddy and just like indistinguishable. And he'll have us like sit there with like the drums like on loop, and like Chris will just go and go until like something comes out right and something sounds better and there's something to be had there. So
yeah,
honestly, if you are like thinking about working with a producer, or you're on the fence about it, just trust me, like it may be a painstaking process being told your shit sucks, but at the end of the day, you come out with a better record. You come out with a new perspective,
yeah,
and you come out with a new way of looking at making music in the future. And it's only beneficial. The only way that you will leave like, like, I learned nothing from that, is if you have a big fucking head and you can't get over it. Like, There's no other way to say it. Like it hurts sometimes being told that like your hard work sucks when you can't see how it sucks, but like
Right.
it definitely kicks your ass into shape, and it gives you a whole new perspective on things.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to play that very eloquent pitch you just had there, because I've wanted to, and because we've been doing just singles. So I'm like, guys, let's just do it even just for a single, let's just get that experience in there, because I think that be a valuable one. But no, because I was gonna ask you all about like how a producer, like what they, because I hear a lot of people all the time kind of say like, yeah, our producer really made these songs better, but they never really say how. But you went in on detail on that, so you took my question away from me, but thank you.
Yeah, sometimes I just kind of like I'm like, and I just am like,
No, I love it, because I think that a lot of people kind of probably hear that. They're like, okay, like you hear these producer names like Will Putney or Drew Falk or something like that, and you're like, how do they really make a song better? But you just I know you're talking about Randy, but that's really cool. That's a really cool insight, and I give those guys credit. They have to have balls of steel, man, to have to try to tell musicians, hey man, listen, especially if it's their first time working together. Hey man, listen, I know we just met like 20 minutes ago, but no.
I know we just met, but your shit fucking sucks. So let's figure this out. That's definitely how it felt the first time, where I was like, I think I might have been sipping something. I was like what? Like it was so harsh to hear, but I was like, all right, man. I mean, well, we are working with somebody who
knows what they're doing.
Knows what they're doing, and usually works with different kind of bands. Like the closest band to us, I would say, or the closest bands to us, like at the time that he'd worked with, were at least in my opinion, were like Reflections and Invent Animate. So I was like, okay, he does work with progressive, metalcore bands, but let's see how it goes with a band like us. And by the end of the day, like we were like, holy shit, man! Like Randy gets us. And we were sitting there one day. This is just one memory I have from like the Unsound recording thing. Like we were trying to figure out. We had like one of those like Josh Travis style like leads where it sounds like you have like bees in your head, and like that was like one of the things that we like to do. And he made like a note about like this one sort of lead, and he took the guitar like he was going to show us how to do something like similar to that, and he got the tone ready, and I was like, what is he going to do here? Is he going to replace it with like a caveman chug or something? Like I didn't know what he's going to do, and he just starts like shredding this like Josh Travis style like Danza Glass Cloud lead, and we were like, what the fuck? Like we did not expect it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's a Berkeley like graduate. Like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Like even if it is like the stupid like like I was mind blown, and I was like, all right, this guy gets it. Like this isn't completely foreign to him. Like he does fuck with this stuff. It's just not like his first grab necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
Totally strange thing to see.
Man, I can only imagine. I don't know, but it's I think that is one very valuable lesson, is just being able to take the criticism. And I say that because with us doing the reactions, we've obviously have some more connections, and I tell these people, like, listen, I know that we both do the reaction thing, but if you don't like the song, I really want you to say it. Don't just say you like it just because we're gonna watch. I really want people to tell me if something's not good, and I think that's a very valuable trait to have. Not to put myself over or to put anybody else, but I just think in general, I don't know how prevalent that is, but I just think it's a super valuable skill to have.
Of course, I think honesty is key in anything. Like sometimes I may come across a certain way, like when putting out my opinion, like I really didn't like it because of this or that, or this just didn't gel to me, or like this just I don't see what the hype is behind this, or whatever.
Yeah,
you'll get a lot of hate for it, but at the end of the day, like at least you're being honest, because sometimes seeing someone be like, oh dude, that shit's hype, and then you're like, yeah, what what's your favorite song or something, and they're like, oh, you know that one that just goes like boom, done. And I'm like, that's not a song in their library, and they're like, oh, dude, I thought it was, and like,
yeah.
I'd rather you just be honest and be like, yeah, no, I fucking hate your band. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm like, all right, it's fine. I know it's not for everybody. You can't expect to put music out there and satisfy everybody, or to not see a negative comment, because man, even we were in that mindset where we put out a song. It was like our first EP in like 3 years. We were finally back at it, and we put out the first song, and we put it out on a channel who like basically specified or like what's the word I'm looking for? They basically put out like music that was catered to people who listen to our sort of music, and we put it out, and like the first 10 comments were just like, yeah, this would have been cool in 2013, and we were like, the fuck, like they were just hating on it because it was coming out at the time it was, or like that it just I can't even remember at this point. But and then I remember at some point like JT from Era like chimed in the comments and was like, oh, your typical YouTube cancer. He's like, fuck all these people, man. He's like, I love this shit. And I was like, yeah, fuck all you. Like we were so convinced that like we were gonna put out a banger that nobody would hate, and sure enough, like the first few people coming onto the video hated it.
Well, now I'm looking through YouTube now to try to find where
I can tell you what song it is if you need.
What's the song?
It's Consequent Aversion. It's from our 2016 EP World Divide. It was on a channel that used to be called It Gents. And
okay. I never heard of this channel.
Yeah, they changed names a little bit ago, and I can't remember for the life of me. But yeah, we had it premiered on that channel, and at first people just gave it shit, and we were like, damn, like we did not expect that.
Well, yeah, I think that was part of the reason why, those kind of channels, that's also the reason why I was like, man, we got to build up this goddamn YouTube, because I don't know, depending on those types of channels, it's tough, man, because it's like the people are generally going to be negative just because they feel like they can be.
Yep.
And I'll just say that we did put one of our songs out a long time ago on a certain channel, and if that guy's watching this by any chance, fuck you. I just want to let him know that. Once again, fuck you. You can easily find it. But dude, have you had, without getting into specifics, have you had those moments being in a band where you come across people and you're like, you know what? Honestly, fuck that guy.
Oh, all the time. I hate to say it. I mean, you're from the New England area-ish. I'm from New Jersey. We both know what that's like, man. I hate to put like that thing like where, oh, he's from New Jersey, New York. He's from Massachusetts or New Hampshire. They must be fucking assholes. No, but we definitely have those moments where we're just like, man, fuck that guy. Where like we have that hard shell kind of.
Yeah.
Mine comes from other shit, but yeah. I joke and say that it's because I'm from New Jersey. But yeah, there's always gonna be that moment where like wow, fuck that guy. Okay, like normally I would have been like, okay, that guy, he just doesn't like my stuff or whatever. Like I can deal with it. But if someone is deserving of a fuck that guy, I'll say it.
Oh no, I definitely don't mean people who just don't like. I mean just scumbags. Like,
oh no, of course,
yeah.
Scumbags. Not just anybody who just doesn't like my music. Like I know I'm not gonna please everybody.
You have a guy in the back just like this, and you're just like, fuck you. No, I mean like legitimate scumbags. But I mean, getting into New Jersey, we played New Jersey one time, and I want to get your thoughts on this venue. I know they're from your home state, but I want you to. This is the Dave reaction channel right now to the venue. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna let you speak.
Mm-hmm.
Championship Bar and Grill.
I will say, yeah, it's not a great venue by any chance. Like, man, hey guys, if you're seeing this, I'm sorry. You know what the venue looks like. Your ceiling's been falling down for like 6-7 years. Okay, do something about it. But we do have like our things. We don't necessarily love the venue itself, but anytime we play Champs, we usually get a good reaction from the people that come there. It brings out like a certain sort of like crowd or a certain part of New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, it's got its charm in a sense. Like it's kind of like dirty, scummy like charm. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best. Like they don't necessarily mic shit. But I mean,
That's
anytime
where
I
I'm
play,
gonna go.
yeah,
I was gonna say, how dare you disparage this fine venue? I was more so talking about the personnel involved with being, associate the sound guys and stuff like that.
yeah.
Listen,
I
man,
mean,
I'm not a genius in that aspect at all, but not great experience there with the sound people.
I'll say I think from like a logistics standpoint, I think it doesn't make sense for them to like mic up drums and stuff like that because the room is only so big. Like, why would you really mic drums other than the kick and maybe the snare? But yeah, I mean, I get that's a small room. Like they do mic the kick, obviously. Like they do that. They used to mic the snare a while ago, then that just kind of disappeared. That's why I started only using metal snares. Like when I went in there, because I was like, this shit's got to cut through. There's no mic, bitch. But yeah, then the hardest part was trying to get the cabs nice and even because I don't recall if they ever mic'd cabs. But it's obviously been a while since we played there, so I don't remember. But yeah, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. Like we've played worse venues with better sound, believe it or not, where it's just the people there who I can't say a single thing that's good about them that would like make up for the fact they got good sound. Like I don't care what you got. If you're shit people, you're shit people, and you don't deserve to be running a venue. But enough about that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just because we're all digital, so there's no amps or cap. There's none of that. So that is a whole other host of problems, especially for when you play at venues that are traditionally, more accustomed to a raw sounding type of music with just one guitar player. You just mic up the amp, but we're all digital, so like the guy just couldn't regulate how hot we were coming in, and it was just it was what it was, But we played Jersey that one time, and I thought that was I liked the experience because we never toured as a band. We've never toured, so it was nice to kind of have like that, not a tour experience, obviously, but like that road trip kind of feel. So
playing far from home,
right? And it was just super cool to be able to do that because. I want to get out there and do the touring thing. I know that, a lot of people say, you don't really need to tour in this day and age anymore. And yeah, I mean, I guess technically you don't have to if you do it a certain way, but I don't know, man. I just have that bug for it. But what are some of your tour advice or horror stories? Because I know that it's not going to be glamour. I know that you're in a van and, but go ahead.
Well, number one was on the Stay Sick tour. I don't want to like completely talk shit or anything like that. It was a
go ahead, bury him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty rough experience in just the sense that like it was thrown together pretty quickly, and this isn't bashing Modern Empire as a whole or what they are now versus Stay Sick, but like. The tour was very much a tour to get the new bands that were like on the label out there and shown off to the world. But because the tour like was planned to be at this specific time, they tried to make it happen like no matter what. So you were looking at shows with like a month-long span and only half a month's worth of shows. And the routing for us was crazy because we were in New Jersey, and for some reason, like usually a tour, like sometimes starts like where the headliner lives. Like that's just something I've noticed sometimes.
And it kind of reroutes back almost in a sense.
Yeah. This one was weird where like it started off in Texas. Like Mother Sound was from
LA or
California. LA or something. So, but we all had to meet in Texas and then circle our way through the South. Back up to New Jersey, then go through the Midwest, and then end in California, and then right back to the East Coast, no shows. So that was tough. That wasn't on like the going home, like, and like the routing part, like wasn't so much the issue, but like half of those shows, you know, in that short time frame, like, or a month's time frame, but only half a month's worth of shows. And then half of those shows weren't guaranteed pay. Like they were door deals. And unfortunately, because of the lack of time we had to promote this tour and the fact that none of us were big
bands. You newer bands, yeah.
Yeah. It was like just a slight step above being a local band tour. And because of that, half of them were door deals. And those door deal shows, we didn't get paid. Like there was just not enough people to make up for the door deal part. And that was really, really tough. I will say you guys played on one of the good shows. That was a guaranteed day, and there were people there, and we loved playing Bungalow. The load-in situation for us sometimes was always a little annoying, and that made for tough days sometimes.
Yeah.
But that venue was always fun to play. There was one band there, a local band, where their vocalist was the sound guy there, and he always made us sound fucking huge.
Yep, Brandon Benson. Yep, from Inari. Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
He always took such good care of our sound and made us feel like we were going to get the best sound ever. And I loved playing that venue. It sucks that they shut down. At least in my memory, that's what happened.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Such a shame.
The only thing I remember that show ran really late, though. I remember you guys went on. That was a late show because it was like, including us, there was like 5 locals plus 3 of you guys on the main bill. There was a lot of bands playing. Yeah,
there was 3 of us. We were co-headline, or like not co-headlining, direct support from Other Sound. So I'm pretty sure didn't play till late. It was
late.
Kind of like winter-ish, so it was like cold, and it was definitely like a long, long day. But yeah, that was definitely one of the better shows. Anytime we played Bungalow, it was always a good time, and we always had a great show there. But on that tour, when we got into like the Midwest, we were in Montana, and I was sleeping in like the back of the van, and I had just woken up like the night before. Danny, my bass player, and Thomas, my guitarist, they drove through like a blizzard. And I woke up and almost had a panic attack and was like, guys, pull the fuck over. Like, what are you doing? Like, pull over and like, let's just sleep. Like, are you trying to get us killed? Like, we just got this van. This isn't even our trailer. Like, we borrowed it from a friend. I was panicking. Somehow we survived through a blizzard, but we're in the middle of nowhere, Montana. And it's like 5 a.m. And it's almost like God or the universe or whatever just woke me up and was like, hey, Dave, you might want to be awake for this. Danny and Thomas are in the front seat again driving, and it's clear roads, but they hit the patch of black ice.
Oh no.
And I just feel Danny losing control. He did everything right though. This is not blaming Danny. I've told him this a million times.
God damn it, Danny.
You're good, I promise you. My sweet boy. But we just couldn't gain control of the van, and we like went off like this. We thought we were gonna flip. Oh. And I was terrified. I was like, there's no way the first tour that we ever do in our own van, we're gonna flip, die, whatever. Luckily we like and there was like snow in the ditch, and like but the trailer and the van like jackknifed, and we're just sitting there in the middle of nowhere, 5 a.m, Montana, and like it's just nowhere.
The closest AAA is 4 hours away.
We were terrified. So we're calling AAA. We're trying to get someone to pick us up. And then because at the time, like the first thing that we thought of being that like 3 of the 5 of us were smokers. Chris was like, oh, fuck, if a cop comes, I've got weed in the back. So Chris goes in the back, gets his weed, and then closes the back door because he's going to hide the weed in the trailer in the merch bin underneath like layers of merch, closes the back door. And because we had jackknifed and it created some sort of impact, he closes the back door, the back window just shattered. So now it's 5 degrees, I think, like almost in the negatives. And the window is open. There's snow on the ground. And we're all like shivering, like, and just waiting for AAA to find us. They're telling us that they can't locate us. And like, sure enough, within I think like 20 minutes or so, or 25 minutes, someone did find us, towed us out there. But then we had a bubble in our tire, and like there could have been way worse things like wrong with the van, but it was just like we were out there, we barely had any money, and just also almost dying together on like our first like, oh, we're doing it tour. And like it was just terrifying. Like I still have like we still like have like post-traumatic stress about it.
Oh
And
my God.
it's rough. Like sometimes I'll just be laying there like at night, like ready to go to sleep, and it's just in my mind's like, hey, remember that night? And it like plays me through like play by play, and I'm like, fuck, I got work in the morning. And it's scary, dude. And that I think was like just the worst like tour memory was just that night, and or like that early morning, just being woken up to like thinking you're gonna die. It was terrifying. Like we could have been in way worse scenario, like a way worse scenario, flipping, being totaled. Like luckily we got out of it and we were able to finish the rest of the tour. We didn't miss a single show, but it was terrifying. And like that's just like I resent winter tours, man. I do not want to tour when it's cold out. Like I'm like, dude, let's just stay home and make a record. I don't give a fuck. Like, but you know, we have to do what we got to do.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple things I want to talk to you about before I get you out of here. I want to be respectful of your time. I know that we've kind of been going here for a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you two more things about your podcast, and then also you actually had Corona. So the people out there who watch this are like, I don't even know like a single person who's had it. It's not a thing. It's not real. We'll get to that. But first, I want to talk to you about your podcast because, you know, I started the podcast during the quarantine. We had the Reaction channel prior to everything happening, but I did the podcast because I was like, you know what, I'm sure that you probably had a similar kind of, not like a motivation, but I hate it like when I word it that way, but a networking opportunity. Because I was like, you know what, we're in a smaller band, and I want to, you know, in a sense, use the YouTube's platform to our advantage to try to get some people on the show who I can talk to and pick their brain a little bit. And that's where this podcast came out of. What was the inspiration or the reasoning behind you starting yours?
I kind of became like aware of podcasts like maybe like I'd say like 3 years ago at this point. Like I was kind of late to the game, and I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan.
Oh, me too, man.
And
we're going to talk about that too. So you added more topics here, but go ahead.
So I followed Tom Segura on Instagram, and I found out he had a podcast, and I just saw like one of the highlights of like his podcast on Instagram. I was like, this seems funny. I got to check this out, see what this whole podcast thing is about. And I just started watching his show, Your Mom's House, and I fell in love with it. It was the funniest shit ever. I was like, wow, like now when I don't know what to listen to, like music wise during the day, I can listen to this and piss my pants laughing while I'm at work and no one knows what's going on in here. Amazing. And because dude, right next to music, comedy is like my lifeblood. I'm constantly joking with my friends, or I'm constantly joking with like whoever.
We're scarily similar. I hope you realize this is getting weird now. But minus the drums thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're best friends for life, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
cut you off.
But yeah, I mean, it was podcasts like that, the Honeydew and like Bill Burr, and like I just realized that all these comedians had podcasts, and then sure enough, there were people in the metalcore world who had podcasts, and I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I can talk people's ears off all day, and I just love having conversations, and I wanted to start one, but like I was never like aware of like how to, you know, record audio. And that was always the thing that held me back. But then when this pandemic started, I was like, I think now's the time. Like I can't tour. I miss my friends. There were all these tours that like we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like these friendships that were going to be, you know, that were going to grow because of that. And like that sucks. So like, why don't I make a podcast where I can talk to all my touring buddies and just, you know, either like go like talk about like how we met, like what got us interested in music, and like, you know, what we're up to today, but without making it so much like an interview, but like just friends catching up and just, you know, discussing whatever. And, you for however long. I don't care. And so it was a few months went by. I put out a feeler and was like, hey, who would want to listen to a podcast if I started one? And then it turned into like, let's do one together, dude. Let's do this. And
Right, yeah. It's like
I,
I didn't ask that question. It's like the people who are like PS4 or PS5 or Xbox, like PC. It's like, dude, I didn't ask PC. I asked these two.
that's why I will no longer ask opinions on Facebook about anything, because anytime like I ask a question, people give me anything but A or B, and they start giving me all this other stuff. I'm like,
They think they're geniuses, 200 IQ people. It's like, shut your mouth, answer the question.
shut your mouth. Like, I don't want it. Like, but yeah, they give you anything but. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's not what I asked, but okay. And so then it just turned me off for a while. And then one day I was like, you know what? I just applied for a new credit card. Let's get this gear, baby. And then it was like, sure enough, this came. And then the other mic. And I was like, if I buy the gear, I have to kick my ass into shape to do this thing, because then I just wasted money. And I'm like, and I want to do this, but I need the motivation. So I bought like the decent starter stuff, and I was like, all right, now I just need a name. And sure enough, like it took a little bit of time, and I came up with the name, and then got the first episode going, and I loved it. I'm definitely bad at sticking to a schedule like of like a once every 2 weeks or once a week. Like I can't manage that with like just the way life is and just how I am, or trying to line up guests who I think people will find interesting.
Yeah.
People I can talk to, or like ask them things that people genuinely want to know or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love it. And it's always great when you can just have a conversation that breaks that interview mold in a sense, and it just starts to feel like a fluid conversation, and like as if you guys have known each other forever. And that's the best part of it.
Yeah, that was that's kind of that's a great way to operate it. That's kind of what I've wanted to do with this. I think when I first started, I was kind of a little bit more structured, just because I was like kind of like trying to like really figure it out. But I went to school for journalism, so like I'm kind of used to talking to people, but especially now where it's stuff that I enjoy talking about, which is metalcore, music and stuff like that. But it's really cool to try to figure out okay, how far can I go with this person, kind of in a half joking, half serious manner. It's fun in that way to me. And it was
You're a great host.
Oh, thank you. I really this interview, or whatever you want to call it. Now you got me calling it an interview. Now it's not an interview. This is a chat with the record button on. But it was perfect because I have a son. He's almost 10 years old, which is just fucked up to think about. Yeah.
You almost have a 10-year-old and we're the same age. Damn.
Yeah. Well,
you, Daddy Rich.
I'm an old man now. That's why, I remember back in my day, the Lamb of God was the thing, But
the DMs, I'm going to be calling you Big Papa now.
Yeah. Yeah, but my girlfriend's working late tonight, and I don't have my son on Tuesdays, and I was just like, this is just a perfect time. So that's why, like, when I talk to people about trying to figure out a date, I try not to do it during a time where either my son's here or my girlfriend's out of work, because I just try to, spend time with them, once in a while. I don't want them to I don't want to like them too much. I don't want to get too attached to these people. But
Gotcha.
yeah. But it was just cool to be able to pull it off with you, and I was stoked. I did want to ask you though, before I do let you go, about comedy. We got to talk about that now. But
Sure.
First, talk to me about this Corona thing. Well, so explain to me, your experience with it. What was that like? Because I know some people are like deathly ill. Some people are like, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was, my brother was coming home for the holiday, and him and his girlfriend both got tested before they came down. They weren't like surrounded by people that were sick, but they wanted to do it, out of just courtesy. And they both tested negative, came here. And then as soon as my brother got here, he just started feeling like shit.
Oh no.
And like his symptoms, we were like, that just sounds like a sinus infection. Like, you tested negative. Like, so it's probably just a sinus infection, because he just kept saying it's all up in here and just right here. And that was it. But then like he started saying he couldn't eat much, and we started getting worried. And then Christmas Day, like I'm unfortunately, like I know that like this is going to sound like a little reckless, but like we had talked to like my grandparents. We always spend Christmas with my grandparents, and we were like, we just, Matt's not feeling good. Dave's not feeling so good right now. Like, we're just feeling kind of tired. Like, we don't want to get you guys sick. And my grandma was like, God damn it. I made 80 pieces of chicken. If you don't get your fucking ass.
There's a New Jersey grandmother right there.
Yeah. She didn't say it quite like that. She yells at me for cursing on Facebook, but like, I'm just giving it my grandma. But yeah, she's like, get your fucking asses over here. There's chicken franchise. There's chicken. All this, like, if you don't get over here, I'm gonna be pissed. And so we were like, all right. My dad was like, I should have put my foot down because, fortunately now my grandparents both have it. I had it. My brother had it. My parents now have it. It's unfortunate, and we thought it was anything but because my brother tested negative. And this is not me blaming you, Matt. If you are watching this,
what the fuck, Matt?
You got that false negative, man. These people need to get on top of their shit.
Yeah.
Get better swabs. Forget about it.
Jam it in the back of your throat nose better.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I got lucky in my case where the worst I think I had was just a light fever. And my mom decided to get all like fancy and was like, well, I'm going to get one of those like forehead thermometers. And like, it was just all over the place. It was saying I was 100.6, and then it was like 99.7, like all like in a row. And I was like, this thing isn't working. Then I just went to like oral thermometer. It was saying I was like 99. So it was a light fever and like chills at most. I couldn't, like, abruptly out of nowhere, I just stopped tasting and smelling things. I was congested, and I was like, oh fuck, well that sucks. But my aunt had it back like in the start of all this, and we like we didn't want to say it, but like I genuinely thought she was gonna die. She has asthma, and so I was really, really scared for her. Like, she like was like put on like oxygen. Like we were just all like terrified, and I thought that I was gonna lose my aunt over it, and so that freaked me out. And then so when I heard that my grandparents got it, I was especially terrified. My grandpa has respiratory issues, and
man.
And so luckily he's doing okay, which is crazy to me. That man's a fucking trooper. He fought in Vietnam. He literally is a soldier in every sense of the word, man. Like, I don't know. That life will kick him in the ass constantly, and he's like, what else you got? Like, best you can do, motherfucker. Like, and he'll be smoking while he does it. I'm like, I don't understand you, man. Fuck. But he's he's doing okay. Grandma's just feeling a little bit like shit. Uncle's feeling like shit, but luckily everybody's recovering. But I don't mean for this to sound like I'm playing it down. Like, this is a very serious thing, and it spreads like you wouldn't believe. I know everyone is aware of that, but there are a lot of ridiculous deniers out there who are not taking it seriously, and they're just going out with their masks, and I wear my mask everywhere. I even like before I went to even, or like after I got tested, like just because I felt so bad about it, I was wearing my mask in the house or my parents, and they were like, we're already exposed, numbnuts, you might as well just take it off. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel fucking bad. And so yeah, like I got off lucky with a light case of it. Mom's feeling pretty weak today. Dad has his days, but like, everyone's gonna get through it, I think, which I'm grateful for. But wear your fucking masks, use your fucking sanitizer, and keep your distance, and don't go out and be stupid in big crowds.
Keep your distance, because right now I'm dangerous, as Fred Durst once said. But
straight up. And I don't even fuck with Fred Durst. So yeah,
Fred Durst once said.
Yeah, I'll pull a Eric Cartman. I'll have my 6-foot pole and like poke you back at this point. I'm real careful now. Not even family gatherings now, man. Fucking suck.
It's a strange dynamic out there, because it's like the people who are like so hell bent on just not wearing their mask at Walmart. I think it's a very strange battle to pick, and it's just like, dude, just like stop being a freaking imbecile and just do it. Like, I mean, you wearing a mask in Walmart is not correlated to your rights being stripped from you, you goddamn jackass. Like, it has nothing to do with that.
I don't understand that at all.
Right.
It makes no sense. And they're just causing even more of a fuss. Like, I saw like a group of anti-masker protesters storming into a Walmart with their signs, no masks, and just
Oh
like,
my God, dude.
and,
I know where that start. I know where that, because okay, this ties into comedy perfectly. So my favorite comedian right now is Tim Dillon. You've heard of this guy?
oh, Tim Dillon, he's great. Yeah.
Oh, dude, he is so fucking funny. Like that guy,
Yeah.
he because I love him because I grew up with like drug addict people and parents and stuff like that. You know, my mom passed away, but I can like joke about it in a cynical, dark way. So I really connect with him. But he did a live stream with this woman, Tina 40, who's from New York. And she's like a Trump person who's just like, you know, in the most Bronx accent, like Trump won, motherfucker, Trump 2020, motherfucker. But she said on the live stream, she said, I'm going to get groups of people to run into Walmarts with no masks on and just storm the places. So I don't know if that's her, but that sounds eerily familiar.
Dude, I know this is going to sound quite rough, but women like that are the reason for erectile dysfunction. That's, God damn it. Like, I can't, like, just rough New York accents like that. Like, I know I'm right there, but I don't think I have like an accent, but like people tell me they hear it in certain things I say. And I'm like, I'm sure you're going to hear something here and there, but God damn it. Like anything like, I'm from Brooklyn, from the Bronx or Staten Island. Why you looking at me like that? I had a Tinder date with a girl from Staten Island. It was one of the worst nights of my life. I had to leave her in the bar, dude. She was a terrible person.
Oh my God. I love it.
Uber exists. She got home fine.
Yeah, she'll be all right. She'll be all right. No, I just it's funny you say that about the accents because like I'm from New Hampshire, but I'm like, 40 minutes away from Boston. And some people say like once I get going, I like that accent kind of comes out. I don't know from where, but it's funny how that you say the same thing. But no, I love Tim Dillon. I think he is just like he's been because my favorite comedian beforehand, which I've had very bad track records here recently. Number one, I had a certain vocalist featured on our song who's no longer, let's just say, active. He's canceled, I guess, as if you would like to call it.
Oh, you mean Aiden from Dealer?
I don't recall. I don't. You bastard,
dude. People like that.
So my favorite comedian before was Chris D'Elia. So I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, it sucks like to see like so many like funny people get taken down. Like I'll admit, like Chris D'Elia was always one that like I was on the fence about. Like I thought he was funny as like a guest on podcasts sometimes, but he was one of those personalities I told you about where it seems like everything's embellished. Where like where I'm like, dude, you're not on stage, you're on a podcast. You can be a little real for a second. But there were some things like in his specials I thought were funny. Like a lot of times I can still watch a special or listen to a song by somebody who has, done unspeakable shit. And like, I don't like to think that I'm supporting like, or saying that what they did is okay by still listening to their stuff or whatever. Like I kind of can't help that. And like,
right.
I apologize to anyone who may think that I'm a piece of shit for that, but like I absolutely do not condone actions like
right
any like that. Like if something's funny, something is funny to me, and like I do sometimes like I'll joke about like dark subjects and stuff like that too, because like in a way like it is like a way to cope
right
certain things like you had mentioned, and like I've made some dark jokes too where I made a family member like cry at the table with a joke I made. I thought I was being extremely transparent about the fact that it was a joke, and they cried because they thought I was serious. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious right now? And like I felt bad for like making them think that I was serious about some shit like that. I was like, dude, I was joking. I was like, I'm sorry. I have a really fucked up sense of humor sometimes, but I know where the line is. I'm sorry that I crossed your line. I didn't know that it was there, but holy shit. Like that's what's tough is like comedy sometimes is meant to push and like cross the line to find out where that line is. And like,
right.
I think we've all been in those moments where we've made a joke and we're like, oh fuck. Like there's your line, and
Oh
you
yeah,
learn.
believe me, on almost a daily basis with my girlfriend. But yeah, I just I love comedy for that reason. It's I feel like I get a lot of the circumstances around because a lot of people call it the cancel culture, and rightfully so with a lot of people. But I feel like if somebody is making a joke, I feel like, I guess to me, it's almost like one of those sanctuaries where it's kind of like this is just meant to be funny. It's not meant in any ill will. So that's the way that I look at it. I know a lot of people don't. I don't know if that's a popular take, but that's just kind of how I've felt about it. It sounds like you're sort of in that realm. I don't want to speak for you.
No, yeah, I think people who get offended by jokes told on a comedy special are extra special dum-dums, because do you not realize that when you clicked on that thing on
Just turn
Netflix,
it off. Yeah.
it was under the category comedy specials, like,
Right.
and what do they do at comedy specials? The comedian gets up there and tells jokes. He's not going up there and reading statements and just being like, here's my opinion, believe it. They are jokes. Yes, if you read a joke in just text, it's going to sound like the most horrible shit ever.
Especially
Like
Tim
99%
Dillon.
of the times, comedians even say that, but it's like you're not understanding the context. You're not hearing the tone and the inflections in the voice and stuff like that. There's a whole, like, there's an art form to it. And
Right.
like I fully love it, and one of my goals in life is to hopefully get up there and do a stand-up set just for fun one day. But I'm always like, dude, my shit is not like funny to the masses. But whenever I tell certain stories, like of things that happened to me in my life, like my family like laughs, or like whoever I tell, they're like laughing, but they're like shocked at what I'm telling them. But like it's that laughter that you can't help but hold in, because you're like, oh, this feels wrong, but it's so funny, and I can't believe this happened to you. And I'm like, fuck, man, I would love to do that, but I also am afraid to eat shit on stage, like at a comedy.
Yeah.
That dead silence is like the worst shit ever. But yeah, I love comedy. It is my favorite thing in the world, right next to music. I'd put it even, honestly, because a
Yeah.
world without comedy is a depressing.
Miserable existence.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it as well. There's a lot of like the context comedians. So like Tim Dillon I feel like Tim Dillon's stand up, if you have never listened to him before, you'd be very confused, because I feel like it's very like his world. Like he has like his like almost his own like dimension. And if you kind of just go into that blind, not knowing who he is, you're gonna be kind of confused. But I feel like a lot of the mainstream kind of comedians, especially like more so now, are more like mannerism comedians. Like if they can like Chris D'Elia was definitely one of them. Like that was what was actually like probably the funniest part about him, was that he was able to contort his body in certain ways, and it just kind of added to it. So I feel like a lot of it now is just like mannerism comedians, or what I like to call the TikTok comedy, where it's like it's not like good good comedy funny. It's just like passerby stupid stuff, which I like stupid comedy, but I don't know. It's hard to explain, but yeah.
yeah. Like my interest in comedy is pretty broad for the most part. Stand-up comedy, which I consider something totally different, it's a little bit more narrow.
Yeah.
But then again, someone comes along every now and then and surprises the shit out of me. Because for a while, I loved those jokes that were like, oh, fuck. Like those ones that got you like that. And because I was young and I was staying up late and I was watching like Comedy Central, it was like after hours or something, when it was like they were playing uncensored roasts and uncensored specials on TV. And I was like, this, like, I can't believe they're saying, like, this is so funny to me. And like comedians on the roast, like Greg Giraldo, who passed like in 2010, like he like, even though he wasn't a roast comic, he hands down was like the best on the roasts. Like he was, like, not many people know this, but like he was a lawyer before he was a comedian, and he was so smart, and he just thought of some things that to some people they thought like that was like too obvious, but they were like, fuck, why didn't I think of that? And he just did it the best way anyone ever could. And just the way and their cadence and stuff like that, it just like crafted me. I was like, dude, I love comedy and I love making people laugh, and it just made so much sense to me. But then like I was into like that dark comedy for a while where it was like Anthony Jeselnik is one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
He's so unique. Like I don't think there's anyone else like him. And then eventually one night my brother was like, have you watched John Mulaney? And I was like, no, but I'll give it a try. And like when someone shows me a new comedian, I'm like this, like because I just know when they're having a good time laughing and I'm not, it makes me feel bad, and then it makes it all uncomfortable.
Right.
But my brother showed me John Mulaney, and there's just something about him. I love him. I think he's so funny. He's like weirdly quirky, and like kind of like there's like that sass to him where I'm like, I love it because I joke like that too sometimes. So that's relatable. And it's just sometimes it's like what they're saying is either like it's so relatable or it's just so ridiculous that I can't help but laugh. Like all that, like there's so many different things that can make me laugh, but like those select few comics have just like gotten me like all my life. And like Jim Gaffigan, who's like a relatively like clean guy, so funny, and like just throughout life, it's for me, it's like, what am I going to listen today? Is it music or is it a comedy podcast or a stand-up special? Like it's just like that's my like routine of like what goes years. Yeah.
I like that. You know, it's funny because it's like I kind of tend to be like narrow, like I tend to gravitate towards like one guy who's like the top of my list. And like I'll check out other stuff, but like there's always like that one prevailing guy. And for me, that's Tim Dillon right now. And like I try to show him to my girlfriend. And she's a very positive kind of person. So she is not really a fan of his.
Yeah, I've struck out many times trying to introduce my comic tastes to girlfriend time, and it's gotten awkward pretty quick. I've had to shut him off like 20 minutes in, halfway through, not even make it to the end, and I'm like, oh, you don't understand what he's doing. Like, I do. I just don't think it's funny. And I'm like, fuck, like, open your mind a little bit. And then it turns into like a little bit of a back and forth. It's tough, but as long as it's funny to you, then who cares?
Yeah, exactly. But man, listen, I was stoked to be able to talk to you. I'm glad that we got to talk about some comedy there as we end this year. I just I didn't know that anybody liked comedy anymore. I've never met anybody who's like into it.
Right. We're almost a rare breed at this point.
I know, right? It's crazy. But dude, I was so stoked to talk to you. I'm looking forward to your new material, and you know that if we can help you out by, reacting to some of the stuff on the channel, just send it my way and we'll make it happen. That's not a problem at all. I think Adam will. What's that?
I will say I hope for that, because now that we're like getting to the point where we're about to have some stuff, I would love to see you guys react to some Sentinels. I want to know your guys' thoughts. So
yeah,
I hate to be the guy who's like, react to my band, but dude, I would love to see Sentinels on your channel.
No. Yeah, absolutely, man. No, don't believe me. I know that there's definitely the people out there who, they have the ulterior motive, and I know we're not like a big channel, but like I can see when people are like trying to just, oh man, how you doing? I checked out your band. I love your band stuff. You have great music. I love it. By the way, could you please react to my band? No, and but I respect you guys. Like I said, you guys were part of the first show that we played, so there's always like, that's something that I'll remember forever. So your band will be in my memory bank forever, for better or for worse.
Man, I appreciate it. And you know what? You guys are big in my heart. So
there we go. Perfect. Well, man, listen, I was so glad to talk to you. I'll let you get back to, I know I took up a lot of your time, but I hope for a lot of health and progress for your family members here as they're, kind of navigating their way through the COVID stuff. I'm sorry to hear about that. I hope your grandparents recover. I don't know. Did you say your parents have it as well?
They do. Yeah. I think everyone's going to be all right. And I'll tell them you said so.
All right. Thank you. They'll be like, who is that guy? It'd be so funny if your grandfather was like, The guy from the reaction channel?
Like, yeah, it's Rich.
I didn't want to.
TrueShot. Can you believe your favorite band? He's like, fuck yeah. Give him a good old.
Tell him I'll be all right now. But Dave, thank you, my man. Take care and be well, man.
You as well, man. Take care.
See you. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the TrueShot Guest Spot Podcast. It truly means a lot to us. If you'd like to support us further, please leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening on Spotify, share it with a friend. If you're on YouTube, comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, make sure you follow us on all of our social media accounts at TrueShot Band. And also, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TrueShotOfficial, and a Twitch, twitch.tv/TrueShotOfficial. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in the next one.